everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the So She Slays podcast. I'm Heather.
I'm Chauncey, and today we have one of our good friends, one of our icons, literally one of the best people you ever meet, Stephanie Heath. And she is the founder, the guru of everything that soul work does. Please, Stephanie, tell us more about your wonderful, beautiful self.
Hey, I'm Stephanie, founder of Soulwork in Six Figures, your personal recruiter. And I have a company that helps soft-spoken, introverted folks that are recovering people pleasers negotiate high six-figure salaries and land awesome, salary packages with mission-driven companies. So that's what I do.
Oh
Happy
my
to be
gosh.
here.
Yes. And we're actually we've known Stephanie for a while. And if you are new to our Instagram, she hosts what's called the workshop, where she just kind of answers everything having to do with your career. She's just kind of there to answer these questions and is there as a resource for all of us. So she hosts those on our Instagram about twice a month. But yeah, so we're super excited to have you on right now because right now, I know there's a lot of people who are looking for jobs. They're new to the job market. I know graduation and people are kind of aloof right now. They're not really quite sure what to do with themselves.
Well, this is true, though. People don't know what they're doing. Like Heather, Stephanie, when you were 22, 23 from college, you didn't know what the heck to do. We didn't know how to we just went on and I don't even think Indeed was around back then. It was just
I think it was brand new.
Yeah, it was like ZipRecruiter. It was something like Craigslist. It was looking for jobs, powering through. Or you knew through a family friend who got you your first job or a family member. My dad helped me get my first job at his company. I was very blessed to have that. But can you imagine college students now trying to find a job? It's so competitive. So yeah, we need they need your insight. And people who've been in the job market for years, like myself and Heather, we still need help looking for a great job.
Well, it's you're channeling and you're trying to jump into other careers. So let's break this down, Stephanie. If I am someone who is either re-entering or entering into this workforce, what other than obviously I need to have a resume, what do I need? What do I have to do?
Yeah, so if you are targeting competitive companies, right, you want to work at the TikToks of the world, the Goldman Sachs of the world, then I would suggest you do this. So first, get clear on who you are, which sounds kind of basic, but it's really not. We have a free PDF guide on the website. We can drop it below, but it's a series of questions that are having you look at yourself, what your degree was in, if your current career doesn't match up with your degree, kind of revisiting that person that you were in college. What do you like to do now? You've built this career, maybe you have 2 years of experience, maybe you have 1 year of experience. What are you doing in your role now that you like doing, but you want to stop doing potentially? Or what are you doing that you want to do more of? So sitting down and asking yourself these series of questions so that you can understand who you are and speak about that intelligently on an interview. So, obviously we have a lot of college age or folks that are just graduating that are listening. You will set yourself apart from the other candidates on the market if you can speak to yourself as almost as if you're a business. So, I started my career in this, and through that experience, I learned that I'm best suited to do this. And you can also kind of, speak to what your themes and your values are. So that would be the first step. Maybe grab that guide or just, have a friend that you talk through these questions with. And then second, kind of craft that work history that you have and communicate it in the way of a story. So like I said, I started from here, I learned this, and this is who I am now, and this is why I'm applying to these sort of roles. So the companies that you're interviewing with can get a sense of some sort of intention in your career. And then lastly, don't have a vague resume. I know for a lot of us, we have lots of interests, but it's really important that you have maybe 2 to 3 resumes if you're going to be targeting 2 to 3 different positions, so that you really are getting these interview requests versus just applying with everything and then not hearing back. And then lastly, being able to talk about money and knowing when the negotiation starts, but we could talk about that a little bit later. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So true. This is so much good information because honestly, the idea of having 3 different resumes, I don't think of that. I didn't think of that because you have 3 different skill sets. And just to let everyone know, Stephanie is an icon just by herself, but like honestly, like she helped me get my new job because her expertise, like actually deep diving into my own personal brand as a person and how I can reflect that on my resume, which I didn't think of the things I did was like quote unquote important. But Stephanie is like, this is like what you are good at. Like you need to highlight that. So I'm just saying from personal experience, Stephanie really does, and her company really does work on finding your niche, but also highlighting who you are and what your great strengths are. So just to let everyone know, Stephanie is the real deal.
Oh my gosh. So in that experience, since we are going to talk about this is like firsthand experience since we have Chauncey here. How did that process go about finding your own personal brand and your niches and what you're good at? Because I totally get it. Like, I mean, what I do, I don't really think of as like a skill set. I'm like, this is just what I do. But other people, they're like, oh, no, that's a thing. So let's talk about this. How do we go about determining and finding this?
Yeah, just sitting down and taking some time, ideally with a mentor, someone that you respect that has more experience than you. Typically, if you're doing this with a friend that isn't in your line of business, they don't know what your industry is like, they can't really suss out those highlights from your background. But if you have someone that you know that's more experienced than you, is doing the work that you're doing, maybe 4 years in advance, then having that conversation with them, what have you been doing in this role currently? What are your major responsibilities? What else have you done outside of that? What have you brought to the team? What projects were you a part of that were super successful within the company, but you were a part of it, even if you didn't lead? And then just kind of breaking down what your day-to-day is. So what are you doing on a typical Monday? And through those questions, you're kind of unpacking what you normally do, what you're amazing at, what you won at this year. And you kind of come to that, wow, I didn't realize I've done all those things. And I kid you not, with every person that I sit down and speak to, they always end with that, with I didn't even know. And so, yeah.
I mean,
you could start there.
I had no idea what I did. I was like, oh, Stephanie was like, Chauncey, you do this and you do that. And I was like, well, oh yeah, I do. But I just thought that was just something like, regular job qualities that people
Everyone
should
does.
have. But the thing is, like, Stephanie and her company really deep dived into like knowing how to present yourself on a resume and tell your story, which is very hard to do on a resume, because when you see a recruiter, they just go through it real quick. But like Stephanie and her company does such a great job finding that voice on paper for you, which I think is very, very rare for a company to actually deep dive and do. So we all appreciate that.
Yeah, and if I could piggyback on that, if you are looking to work with career coaches or just anyone to do some work on your resume, try to find someone that was a prior recruiter, because the work that we do here is strictly sales and branding. Like, we're using the keywords, we're adjusting job titles, we're doing everything necessary to make sure that you're getting these interview requests that potentially, like the average career coach or the college administration person that's assigned to you wouldn't do. So even if you're not working with a career coach or resume writer to write your resume, maybe you have a friend that used to be that hires in her role. Have them look over your resume and kind of pick out, and just really think about, as you're writing your resume, think about it from a branding and sales perspective. So flooding it with keywords. And like I said, if your job title is project manager and you do some product work at that company, maybe about 30%, and the roles that you're targeting are product roles, then you probably want to change your title to product manager and project manager. You know what I mean? So like thinking about those things so that you're actually getting these interview requests versus spending your money with like an administrator in your college to write your resume and you're not getting any, interview requests because they're just, I don't know what they're doing, but it's not like branding.
No, I mean, and that makes total sense, because you are essentially selling yourself, to these people to get hired. What are the top mistakes that you find a lot of people do when they're trying to, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and push like career coaching and resume, whatever, on people, but it's like, I feel like there's some solid mistakes people make that they don't even realize that they're making.
Definitely, like I said, having a vague resume that you're using to apply to several different roles, and having a vague LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn is like a place where, when you think about LinkedIn, it's basically you selling yourself into the role, like painting the picture of the role that you're targeting. and making use of their algorithm. So making sure that you have a lot of keywords. The first step that you want to think about is just grabbing the job description of the role that you're targeting, or grabbing a 3-month-old job description of an ideal role for you, and using that to craft your LinkedIn and your resume. So like I said, with LinkedIn, they have an algorithm. You're going to want to make sure that you have all of those keywords that are in that job description in your experience section. You're going to want to make sure that you're going through your past history and adjusting your job titles as much as you can, just with an eye to the roles that you're targeting now, without being dishonest, but putting that branding hat on. The order of the bullet points, you probably want to put the more relevant bullet points that the company is going to be looking for at the top. We could talk about how you're kind of showcasing your work. So let's say if you've done a lot of consulting work, you've been a contractor, you can combine that experience so it doesn't look like you have a bunch of short stints. And then with your headline area on your LinkedIn, you want to call yourself the role that you're targeting. You don't want to call yourself what you are currently. So again, we'll use that product and project manager example. Let's say you're a project manager at MasterCard. You could say project manager at MasterCard and then have a slash that says product management, and maybe the methodology that product managers use, just so that you're getting that keyword hit, and so your profile's rising as recruiters are searching for people like you. Also, the skills section is a really important place for LinkedIn. Apparently, the top 3 skills need to be focused on the role that you're targeting. So for the average person, you guys aren't on LinkedIn. You jump on once every 2 years and forget about it. But when you're in your job search, you're about to start, you're going to want to go back in and grab that job description and adjust everything so that it's the perfect picture for that role. So LinkedIn has those 3 skills at the top that it creates for you based on your endorsements. You want to change that and put the 3 skills that are really relevant to that job description on top. And then the biggest mistakes that we see on the resume is that, like I said, people just have their, title. So let's say you're account manager, right? And that also is similar to maybe like a customer success person, and you are applying to roles that are, the title is customer success. You don't want to call yourself an account manager. You want to say customer success. And then maybe in that first bullet point, account manager, servicing the XYZ team, ensuring customer success. So you still have a sentence that's nodding to your actual title, but you're explaining why you're calling yourself a customer success person in the title. Another thing, and I won't ramble too long, is that, for some reason, people feel that a long resume is negative for some reason. As a recruiter, we want to answer as many questions up front before we get on the phone with you as possible. So it actually benefits you to have a longer resume with as much detail as possible, so that when they get on the call with you, it's like, oh, okay, I already know you've done all this stuff. Let's talk about fit. Let's talk about culture. And you're going to find that you're skipping interview rounds here. And whenever I have my friends, my network, and I speak to career coaches that are, again, like college administrator people, or just, I don't know, career coaches, they say, have a shorter resume. But whenever I'm talking to my recruiter friends, they're like me, where we really appreciate the longer resume. So take that piece of advice, so that you're skipping interview rounds and you can focus on that likability factor on the interview versus proving that you know how to do the job. So I'd say those are the biggest mistakes that we see.
Those are some mic drop moments there.
Yes.
Oh my God. Because I have always been told to have a short resume, fit it all on one piece of paper.
A one-sheeter, basically. Like,
everyone I talk to, I have to sell them into, no, we're making it really long. And I always see it proven, because when I see my recruiter friends, and maybe they're helping out, they have a small career coaching business, they do the same thing I do, where we have a really long resume, 3 pages that are answering questions in advance. You're never going to get knocked out of the process by having a long resume, ever. So,
oh my gosh,
that's such a game changer. I had no idea.
Yeah, neither did I. Holy crap. Okay, yeah, no, I'm a little thrown here for a second. So now that we kind of like touched on the resume part of it, let's kind of jump a little bit into the LinkedIn part, because you mentioned it a few times, and everybody I talk to is like, oh, LinkedIn is like super important, it's super underrated. So other than the general statement of how LinkedIn's underused and valued, what do people need to have in their LinkedIn to like really stick out? I mean, we mentioned skills.
Yeah. So if you're a creative of any type, maybe you're on a marketing team or, you know, obviously creative type role, you want to make your LinkedIn profile kind of jazzy. You really want to think about the aesthetics of it. Even if you are someone, yeah, like marketing, any type of position where your sense of like your aesthetic taste is going to be important. Really think about that banner image, have a really nice profile image. We all have Instagram now, so we're all mini photographers. You don't need to get like a branded photo shoot, but like have a friend take a photo of you in good lighting in the park with you with an off the cuff smile, and then have a banner image that really speaks to who you are at your essence. Because again, not to like freak you out, but people will fall in love with you before they speak to you and believe they know you just by what you're showing with like your aesthetic sort of taste on LinkedIn. And that's going to benefit you, right? And we could talk about how people end up just going with their gut and hiring the person that they can trust over the person that's more experienced, but you know, we won't talk about that. So really spend time on that banner image and that profile image. And then in the summary section, again, try to make them fall in love with you, or at least believe that they know you in advance by, you know, putting on that copywriter's hat and not just having the LinkedIn populated summary. So say something like, you know, XYZ executive, passionate about blah, blah, blah. On my off time, I do blah, blah, blah. That's super generic, but really like, I guess, starting off your summary section as if you're speaking about your professional abilities, but as if you're talking to someone. So using that sort of angle, if that makes sense. That's what I would say. That's the advice I would give for, I guess, creatives. Other than what I've shared already, that's something that kind of came up when you asked the question. And then, yeah, there's more tips I can give about like the contracting work and how to like bring everything together so you don't look short stinty. I think most people know that if you have work that's outside of the roles that you're going to be targeting, you may just want to leave it off your LinkedIn completely. So if you have 7 years of experience, maybe get rid of your retail experience, or, you know, if you were a healthcare admin, but you're targeting financial firms, get rid of that stuff, just so that it's not so much you're using LinkedIn as this identical historical copy of your experience. It's a piece of like a sales tool. So just keep that in mind as you edit it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am wondering now. So we've kind of opened the door as far as like how to go about selling yourself in the like best way possible. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty and talk about money. I know like when, okay, so there's two aspects to this. Because I know, Chauncey, when you and I like graduated college, we were I think even just before our master's program, like I don't know about you, but I kind of expected to like just grab a really top paying job.
Oh,
like
we
I
all
was
did.
so unrealistic about everything.
Because that, but the thing is, I know we graduated when the recession hit. Like we were the graduates of the recession from like high school. So when we went to college, it was just like, you know, the job that you thought you're gonna get, it's not gonna be that. And the minimum wage at the time was like $6.75 in California. So like if you got like a $14 job, like you were hitting the, like you were great. You were doing great
Jackpot.
work. Yeah, but like, yeah, of course, after high school, after college, I was like, yeah, I have this degree in like advertising business. I'm gonna be like on top of the world. And then that did not happen. I was working a customer service job, and it was a great experience. But like, yeah, your girl thought she was gonna be like, you know, the high rise when I was like 22. So yeah.
So let's manage these expectations for people if we can, Stephanie. Those who are
Please.
just now graduating. How can we help them?
Please.
So I will say the job market has changed drastically. Like you guys, when I graduated, we were in the recession, and it's even, you know, it's even more like shaky now. So my piece of advice for someone that's graduating now is to, if you are already graduating, if you're in college, definitely take on as many internships as you can. Like this is super important. So you have those relationships, you're proving yourself. And so that when you are applying for that entry level role, you have experience to speak of, like, please do that. But let's say you've graduated already. I just had it in the back of my mind. Hold on. What would I say? If
Mm-hmm.
you just graduated, okay, your network is going to be really important. So if you're someone that's introverted, my friend wrote a book. It's called The Confident Introvert. Grab that. But definitely learn how to talk to people. Understand that networking is just you making friends with people and seeing how you can help them while also just being straightforward with whatever ask that you're suggesting, like that you're asking them. And have that be your job for the first 6 months. So let's say you're applying to roles, maybe you're applying to roles 3 days out of the week. 3 days out of the week, you also need to be trying to create a network for yourself. So letting everyone know that you just graduated, your mother's friends, your aunts, uncles, everyone, really being that sort of quote unquote aggressive, pushy person to like, hey, I'm looking for this, blah, 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 looking for that, in whatever way you want to, because that's how you're going to get that first role now, especially. The market is just really strange. We have folks that aren't even really looking, but they have their resume up and they're getting other jobs just because of COVID. People kind of are like, well, what do I really want in life? And I'm not really happy with this role. And so we're just seeing that there's a lot more job seekers on the market than we have prior to this. So your network and just being able to really get people to take a chance on you is going to be how you get that first role. And that's way more important than the companies that you're applying to, because I want to say like 9 out of 10 times, that is what's going to be your first role. It's just someone taking a chance on you, and it's through your network. So what could that look like? That could look like you joining websites like alpha.com, careercontessa.com, built-in communities, Slack channels, Fairy Godboss, other places that have really active forums. If you just graduated, potentially Facebook groups aren't going to be that relevant for you, but let's say you have 3 or 4 years of experience, joining a Facebook group for your specific role. Maybe it's like East Asian women in tech in the Bay Area, right? Like joining those groups and being active. You don't need to be like buddy with people, but just saying, hey, I'm discreetly looking right now. Does anyone have any leads? And like I said, really making this a part of your job search and your full-time focus at the moment. And then again, if you are the person that just graduated, being able to go to those career fairs in person or virtually. Maybe you're sleepy one day and you sign up for a bunch of them and you're like, I don't want to go. Don't do that. Like, have this be like your actual job. Go and do as much as you can, because like I said, it's not as straightforward as it used to be, where it's like you apply and you get that role back. It's like, I don't know, you're going through a Monopoly chain of just like, I finally got this role because someone said they know me, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not straightforward
From a friend
anymore.
of a friend of a friend of a friend.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
You have to
Yeah.
actually like hustle. You gotta hustle now more than usual.
Yeah,
Take it
you do gotta work.
seriously.
And even for the smaller roles, like I mean, like I said, a lot of people hop out the gate and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna go get this, 6-figure job, blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, you might need a little bit of more time to like marinate in this industry for a second before we hit
Right.
that.
But the thing
Go
is
ahead.
that you can get that 6-figure job, but it's when you have those internships that you have that experience. 2 years of an internship, then you can graduate and get a 70K paying job at Microsoft. I saw someone do it. She also had other privilege working in her favor, but she worked her ass off and she had a lot of experience in her internship. So it's possible, but if you haven't done that, then you may not be able to hit that initially.
So if you're a student and you're listening to this right now and you're not graduating this year, when do you start the process of preparing for what you're talking about?
Sophomore year.
Wow.
Every summer starting from
Holy
sophomore
shit.
year. Like yes,
are you
every summer.
serious?
Yeah, because you need to develop as a professional one. So let's say that first internship isn't what you want. Like, you're going to go to law school eventually, you want some sort of legal role, but you get like an office assistant position. Through that role, you're going to learn professionalism, showing up at work on time, how to communicate in the workplace, what to wear, email, like politeness. I'm forgetting the word.
Correspondence, yeah.
Yeah, so you're learning so much, and you'll have that one internship, maybe 3 months. you know, if you were like my person, I would have you do 2 internships in the summer personally, or just, you know, one in the summer and maybe one during another break. Even if it's just like a month. So 2 a year. And then junior year is when you really start applying to those internships. That's going to be the role that you're going to be targeting later on. So, and to be honest with you, you may be competing with folks that started interning in high school. So if you're that person that's targeting those like top level companies and you want that 6-figure position, you know, I would suggest that you do the work while you're in school.
And what, okay, so, and here's my question to that. What do we say to the people who aren't sure what they want?
Then that's fine. Then whatever looks good to you in the moment, get an internship in that or try. You know, I'm in my 30s and I'm thinking about pivoting. You can pivot at any time. You don't have to be married to something. There doesn't need to be pressure. But what interests you now, right? What is your degree in now? What sounds exciting? And then do your best in that role. And at the end of the day, when you have 4 years of experience, 5 years, and you've already graduated and you have this interesting background, that's what makes the most interesting people, right? Like Google and Meta and these folks that are hiring based on your character, not on what your resume says, like the top companies in the world, they're hiring interesting people that are self-possessed and take risks and have that interesting background, you know, where they spent a year in Spain, or they were, you know, in a baking program and they decided that they didn't like it anymore. Like that's a real person, you know, they're the ones that are actually the most competitive or are getting the roles that everyone wants, versus the folks that have that pressure from their family and they just do what their family says and they just have that slew of predictable job history. And then I found that after 5 years, they, you know, are very unhappy and they completely blow up their career anyway and do something different. So don't be that person and follow your interests as they come.
That's such a great tip.
That's, like, I mean, how else are you going to figure it out, right?
And I think internships, especially like I started my internships in college, like I think junior, senior year, but the idea of sophomore year, like I could have had more experience to figure out what I wanted to do at the time. And like that, and I could have saved myself from trying to change a major junior year. So like I feel like taking internships, like you said, 2 or 3 or just a month internship is something that really builds as a character. And I also think it gives you experience on how to act in the workforce. Cause you know, like it teaches you how, like you said, how to dress, how to talk. Like that's something that you really need to have to be a successful employee at any company.
No, agreed. We are, like, Chauncey and I are huge advocates of internships. Her and I did several in you know, our undergrad and our master's program. It's just really, really helpful. I can't express, like, you learn what you like, what you don't like. It's like dating.
That's so true.
And it can be fun too. It's not like, you know,
yeah, and agreed. Like choose the internships that in positions that you're interested in, like in industries that you're interested in, because that's the only way that you're really going to find out if you are actually interested in that, or you just like the idea of it,
or someone pressures you to do it, you know, like Stephanie said, like, you know, generational pressure of like, you should do this, like role, you should do this. Like I've noticed a lot of like, you know, the Gen Z, they're just doing what they want. And I love that because we grew up like, you have to do this degree, you have to do, like, you can't think of this, like you have to go to this school, or it's just like so many like, you know, pressures that we put on ourselves. But I love that Gen Z, like they're out here just doing what they want and doing what they love. And I respect that. And I wish I had that when I was like in my 20s.
Right.
Right.
That was not existent.
No.
Let's talk about negotiating
money,
salaries and money and that kind of stuff. Whether you're just getting hired or you're getting ready to ask for a raise. How do we go about doing this? Because I know a lot of people won't do it.
So I'll go through the work methodology of negotiating. Our clients, we're all soft-spoken people. We are not confrontational. We don't hard sell. If you have that personality trait, you can use this method. The first is to definitely research the market, know what you can be making. If you were our client, we would suggest that you find out what the top of the range is for your function and your years of experience in that city. and then ask for that, or even ask for 5 to 10 to 15K more than that. And the company's not going to look at you like you have three heads. What you're doing is just establishing yourself as a more pricier candidate, someone that's a little bit more high value. And we want to negotiate from the top of the range, because as a company negotiates you down, you still want to land at a good space. So how do you do that? You do that by, on that first call, potentially the company may bring up salary, ask you what your requirements are. Maybe they won't bring it up then, but whenever you have that first conversation, you can put your actress hat on and say, oh, I just entered the market. I'm not quite sure. What would you recommend? You can if you want to. If you're not that type of person, you're more direct. Don't just say, yeah, I'm in a few conversations with a few different companies and I'm being considered for around XY to XYZ. And again, that range should be at the top and even more, maybe like 5K more. So being able to come out with that number and then listening to their response, if they're like, oh, wow, we should probably end it here, that's way above what we can manage, asking them, what is your budget? And if it's still within a range that you'd be happy with, ideally not more than maybe like 15K of a difference, then just say, yeah, I'd like to continue the conversation. As I mentioned, I'm in talks with a few different companies. I definitely want to continue learning more about the role, and we can maybe discuss that a bit later. So that's something that you can go with. And again, don't get caught up on the language and having this like script. More so understand that if you're interviewing with a recruiter or the founder of a company, they would agree. They definitely want to have the conversation again later. So it's in both of your benefit to talk about it later. So you don't have to enter the conversation thinking about, if I say this, is it the right thing or not? Like, release that pressure and just, as I mentioned, state the number or put the actress hat on, don't state the number, and then have that conversation like a normal person and have it go to the next round. Like, no one's trying to, there's nothing that you could say that will mess this up for you at this point. And then, interview for us, for, anyone that's in our world, we want to make sure that you're interviewing the company back, that you're tuning into your gut and asking yourself, how do I feel talking to this person? Can I feel like I can be my whole self at this company? Am I safe to make mistakes? So that you can continue to show up in your highest version versus being that person that's like trying to prove their worth during the interview process. And then the second time you can expect a company to bring up salary again is going to be around your final round, either right before or right after it. And that's when they're basically temperature checking and trying to persuade you to take the number that they want you to take. And that's actually when the real negotiation happens. And I would say that most people aren't aware of that. They think the negotiation happens after you get your verbal offer. It's at that temperature checking that's like the hardcore negotiation. So maybe they'll say, oh, we've been interviewing you for a few weeks, everyone's in love with you, how do you feel, how are your other interviews going, and I want to check in about salary, are you still looking for XYZ? As I mentioned, we are looking around this range, but I'm gonna, they may even try to help you, I'm in talks with the manager, see if we can get a bump, but likely it'll be this, right? And that's when, just take a deep breath, have a glass of water near you so that you're not talking unnecessarily, and just listen to what they have to say, right? Almost be sympathetic to them. Recruiters don't like to negotiate. Founders don't like to negotiate. They just want to make you happy, hire you, and move on to the next role. So just be kind and listen. And for us, our method is, restate your ask, say, affirm them, compliment them, and be genuine. I as well have enjoyed this interview process. I'm in talks with a few different companies, but you are top of the list for XYZ reason. I love my conversation with Max and blah, blah. Like, really spend time on affirming them from a genuine place and then share that. And, as I mentioned, I am in a few different conversations and this is what they're considering for me. And that's when you restate the number. And so what you're doing is that you're blaming your number on the other companies that are trying to get you. It's not your fault, it's their fault. And you can even be apologetic about it, like, this is what I'd be considered for. And so, if the company can come a little bit closer to that number or match it, I'd be a lot more comfortable in accepting an offer here, if that could be possible. And that's when that person will either try to, persuade you again, or they say, yes, that's fine. I'll let them know, because again, you're blaming it on the other companies you're interviewing with, not on your desires, your PhD, your master's, none of that. And so let's say that they do try to come back in and persuade you and say, I appreciate that, but this is what we have to work with. We're a nonprofit. Since COVID, we had to let go of staff. We just aren't the way we used to be, blah, blah, blah. with our clients, we like to recommend that you have it go in one ear and out the other, because what they're doing is they're advocating for their company and their needs. And for you, you need to let that kind of just pass through you, because your responsibilities to your needs. So just listen to what they have to say. Don't get wrapped up in the emotion of it. And then just affirm them again. Even say something like, I appreciate you even being this transparent, and I understand completely. And that's even more of the reasons why I'd like to accept an offer here. However, and that's when you restate your ask. And so that if that happens about 2 times, they're not going to push it again. They're going to try maybe at a later date, but they are going to go back to their HR, their VP of HR or their founder, and try to get more money for you. And so that's it. Now, when you do get the verbal offer, at that stage, you should not be negotiating like this. Like, they know what you want, and they've done the work on the back end to get you closer to that number. Now you can, maybe take a week to think about it, talk about other aspects of the offer package. But most of the negotiation should come at the other conversation. So I'll stop here. But.
Yeah. No, that's
wow,
wonderful. Holy crap.
That's wild.
Okay. That's I know. And it's very, I don't know. I'm loving it. I feel like I've learned so much.
I know.
So Stephanie, to wrap this up a little bit, where can people find you, get a hold of you? What exactly does your company do? Because I feel like we can reinstate exactly what Soulwork does.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So our major programs are first the 6-figure catalyst. And that's for folks that aren't making 6 figures in their career yet. Maybe they have 5 years of experience, 6 years, 7 years, and they want to get to that 6-figure range. It's a 10-week group program. We usually have about 4 to 5 good people in the program that are all trying to get that role as well. And we work together for 10 weeks, rewriting your resume, your LinkedIn, holding several mock interviews, and making sure that you get that offer at the end. The other program that we have is called the Career Catalyst. It's a one-on-one program with me. It's usually for someone that's targeting their first managerial role or their first director level role. And they are already at the 6-figure mark. And so they just want someone that can kind of help manage their job search, handling all of their personal branding items, executive bio, etc. And like I said, giving them that mock interview and also that negotiation support so that they are able to get that role. Some of our past clients are first-generation Americans. English isn't your first language. Again, people that are introverted and soft-spoken. So those are our major programs. And if you want to just be in our community, I would recommend joining our Facebook group. It's a private group. I'm in there every week hosting trainings and workshops so you can ask questions about your job search, salary, self-esteem, mindset. We also have 2 co-coaches with both programs and in the Facebook group. One is a certified healing arts practitioner. She's an energy healer and she does all the woo stuff, all the mindset work or readings in the group. And we have a 21 years experienced leadership strategist in the group who provides DISC assessments, personality assessments, so that you're able to use the language to really describe who you are in a professional way during your interviews. So all of us will be there to support you. It's a free group. And otherwise, just jump on the website. We have a free resource library there with about 50 files, swipe files you can grab to help your job search.
Oh my gosh. The resources are there, people. The resources are there. This is possible. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to just explore and get to know what you want and what you're going to be good at. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you guys want, catch her on our IG lives about twice a month. She hosts a workshop and she just sits there and answers questions for a little bit about, what's going on in your job search. So thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, Chauncey. We're super excited to have you here, Stephanie. And until next time, Slay Nation, thanks for listening.